your career has been 27, 28 years?
Yeah, 27, 28 years. Yeah.
28 years. And what is it that you do to stay relevant today?
I think the world has shifted greatly from where when we began, and even I would say in the last 3 or 4 years, it's shifted to a great extent. So I think what I do right now is one is that you try and surround yourself with younger people. I'm very clear about that there is a certain exchange of energy and ideas and also information that comes from much younger folks. So I think it's very important to surround yourself with younger people who probably can teach you a thing or two. And we have to, I think, drop our egos and our baggage and our thing of 28 years of experience, because great you have the experience, but you have to be relevant, like you said. So I think it's important to be on social media. Really, I don't think we can say, I'm going to watch social media from a distance. I mean, it ain't happening. You've got to get your fingers and hands and everything dirty and dive in. I think today the influencer has become a very big part of branding and advertising. I mean, it's not the celebrity anymore. In fact, interesting that I was reading something about Anand Mahindra, and he said this whole thing of he said, I can impact so many of my audiences and so many of my consumers on Twitter. I mean, of course, I'm ads run karungi and you'll do stuff, but this one tweet from him will have so many followers that he can influence behavior, right? One great thing that's happened is also the way the OTT channels have opened up.
Is there any such campaign or advertisement that have constantly been with you to inspire you?
I mean, for me, I think it tends to hark back to a few years back. Maybe it's that Gorilla Cadbury's ad. If you're talking about what I mean globally, I thought was phenomenal was that Gorilla ad where the song kicks off. The Phil Collins song kicks off. It's awesome because it just makes you feel something, and it's like a lot of people didn't get like what's so great about it. And for me, I think a good piece of work has to like trigger some feeling. Like either it has to be fantastic craft or like super clever, or I think if it makes you feel something. Like I think Volvo Epic Split made everybody feel something. I mean, it was universal. It was like, oh wow.
I've had my ups and downs, my fair share of bumpy roads and heavy winds. That's what made me what I am today. Now I stand here before you. What you see is a body crafted to perfection, a pair of legs engineered to defy the laws of physics, and a mindset to master the most epic of splits.
Who can say where the road goes, where the day flows? Only time. And who can say if your love grows as your heart shows? Only time. We are there. We are there.
Dumb Ways to Die was what a refreshing campaign using animation. Imagine like animating how you can die. I mean, come on. So, what I like is the way they kind of mixed up two crazily like unrelatable concept, death and like cartoon.
Get your toast out with a fork. Do your own electrical work. Teach yourself how to fly. Eat a 2-week-old unrefrigerated pie. Dumb ways to die. So many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways to die. So many dumb ways to die. Invite a psycho killer inside. Scratch a drug dealer's brand new ride. Take your helmet clothes dryer as a hiding place. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Keep a rattlesnake as a pet, sell both your kidneys on the internet. Eat a tube of super glue. I wonder, what's this red button do? Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Dress up like a moose during hunting season. Disturb a nest of wasps for no good reason. Stand on the edge of a train station platform. Drive around the boom gates at a level crossing. Run across the tracks between the platforms. They may not rhyme, but they're quite possibly the dumbest ways to die. The dumbest ways to die. The dumbest ways to die. So many dumb ways to die.
Be safe around trains. A message from Metro.
And I think from India, of course, I remember the Happy Dent commercial. Yeah, I mean, that was epic. Last year, of course, 2020 was a strange year, but I think before that, the Nike, the Kaepernick ad, the fact that Nike actually supported Kaepernick, and the fact that he stood for something and Nike stood with him.
Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. When they talk about the greatest team in the history of the sport, make sure it's your team. If you have only one hand, don't just watch football, play it at the highest level. And if you're a girl from Compton, don't just become a tennis player. Become the greatest athlete ever. Yeah, that's more like it. So don't ask if your dreams are crazy. Ask if they're crazy enough.
Sometimes it goes beyond just, like I said, it's not just the craft, it's also the intention and it's what's the social impact. Then recently I was judging something for design, I think for Dubai Links, and there was this very beautiful piece called Peace Camo, which was basically the Lebanese army uniform redesigned. Okay, so it was like, the army is always wears camouflage, right? And it's this camouflage background. But the Lebanese army here in this case was called for some peacekeeping in on their own soil, and they helped out a lot during the mission, like kids and maybe people who been hurt and stuff. And there were photographs taken of these, and what they did was they actually converted those photographs into these graphics, and the camouflage design actually has these graphics. So from the far it looks like it's a camouflage design. But when you come closer, it's actually these beautiful, these acts that these Lebanese soldiers did, and they actually printed a uniform with that new print. I mean, they designed a new print, and it's called Peace Camo, as in peace camouflage, right? For me, that was the most recent piece which I've seen, which is, I think, has been quite beautiful.
That goes so much beyond the regular realm of advertising or advertising creativity or creativity in general. Like, I feel that I think this these examples are so beautiful for people who have kind of, reduced today's creativity to something like bunch of hashtags and a few campaigns that need to sell a product on a social media platform. Whereas I
Yeah.
feel these things are, I'm so glad that these things are actually happening simultaneously. Where I think the
Yes.
larger agencies, have taken up the realm of have taken up the onus of saying that, okay, listen, man, you guys do this social media sweet work. Not that I'm not dissing it at any point. I feel
Hmm.
that it's equally relevant and important. But
Hmm.
I'm so glad that the bigger agencies, at least internationally and in India, have taken up the onus of saying that, okay, we are going to take advertising beyond the regular realm of trying to do an advertisement, but to really
Hmm.
create impressions through communication. Is there any advice that you would have for the generation that the newer generations of creative professionals?
It's important that we keep ourselves relevant, and I think it is a Tinder culture right through. I mean, not just on Tinder. I think it's across, right? It's everything is swipe right or left at at the speed of lightning. So it's interesting how their minds are, I think, able to grasp 15 things at one point. And I sometimes feel that maybe I can't do that, but having said that, and I think maybe being also maybe impressed by some of it, that the fact that they can they get it right much quicker, and it's I think the brains are wired slightly differently. I think there is something in, or there's a beauty, and there is something in also enjoying it and devouring that piece, whatever it is, whether it's a croissant that you're eating or whether it's a date that you're going out to, in terms of not devouring the date, that came out completely wrong. But what I meant was, just living an experience and being in that moment. I mean, I wish I could tell these folks that there is joy in living in that moment, whether it's for 5 minutes or whether it's for 1 hour of that date that you're going on, or that film that you're watching on Netflix, instead of watching something here and then watching something here. I don't know how to. I don't know how to get that message across, because I feel it'll be beautiful if they can bring that back, because it might add a lot to you know their lives. And like I said, I might need to learn to multitask a lot
No,
more.
I guess what we need to learn is a little bit of multitasking. What they need to learn is a little bit of tasking.
Focus.
As a woman in advertising,
Hmm.
okay, and what are your thoughts on how things have progressed? Have things progressed? Are things different? Is there equality?
Okay, this will probably require another session. But anyway, let me at least touch the tip of the iceberg for whatever it's worth. We had a chat with Sonali Krishna from Brand Equity. She firebrand journalist, and there is something called it's like a voluntary body called the Collective. Okay, which few of us. Supposedly senior women in the industry in design and advertising have. It's a kind of an informal but a voluntary group where we've come as our in our individual capacities, not as XYZ from Ogilvy or wherever. And I think the very fact that there is something called the Collective that exists, which means there is obviously some kind of a problem that needs to be addressed and solved. Like I said, there were 16 of us who kind of came together, and this really came on the back of the Me Too situation, which happened 2-3 years back in a very big way. I mean, it's not like it hasn't happened over the years, but it's like it just came to the fore in a very ugly manner, and a lot of heads rolled, and I think rightfully so, around 2-3 years back, even in the Indian ad industry, and not so much design and digital, but I think actually also digital. But the fact is, I think what happened was there were a couple of younger people. Okay, there were a couple of younger folk, and like a lot of these mid creative women leaders, and they kind of reached out to us saying, hey, listen, this is very disturbing. And I think we just felt that as people who've been in the industry for like so long, as women being in the industry, we really owe some kind of responsibility to kind of at least address this issue, or at least help in whichever way we can, right? So that's how this whole collective got formed, and we've actually got a legal counsel on board, and also got a diversity and inclusivity expert on board. We've had that, in fact, first chat with Sonali, whereby we actually took her through what is it that we are about and what is that we want to do. And March 8th being International Women's Day, it become like such a token day, and everybody's like so honestly, we're so peeved with it. We're like, we're done with this, token Women's Day. Matlab, kya bakwas hai? I mean, behave yourself, and then, then maybe that might just be a better way of, celebrating women. And it's not that we want to be celebrated and, put up on this pedestal, but yeah, let's just behave ourselves. I mean, to begin with, right? There is this whole pressure of brands doing things for women. And we said, you know what, let's just really call it out the way it is. And which was, we actually, got women. We just wrote out, we started this Insta page and we said, which is called The Collective. And we actually told women across the industry that what is that one thing that bothers you about the industry. Tapan, we got some 50 videos in like 6 days. Some 50 women like outpouring of like just one minute each of what this. We said, listen, don't make it long because nobody will read it. But if you want us to hear, but 1 second, 1 minute mein batao what is the problem. Some 50 women wrote, and we put up those videos, and it's crazy. In those 6 days, I think some 6 or 10 burning issues came up, and it's Me Too is one of them. It's visibility, it's tokenism, it's wage gap, it's gender biases, it's stereotyping. It's, I mean, like I said, it's hazard things. And it starts from things like in advertising, it'll start even from things like when brand allocations are happening. It's like, okay, the batteries and the cars and the bikes will go to the boys, and the diapers and the lipsticks and the makeup and the pretty shoes will go to the girls. Um, and why? And I mean, luckily, I've really been lucky that I've worked actually exactly on the opposite. I've done Duracell batteries, I've done Amazon batteries, I've worked on Toyota, Honda, Brio. I've done Bank of India, State Bank of India. So I've been lucky, and I think also maybe because I asked for. I mean, if I felt that I wasn't really, getting a category, I would ask for it. But I think the big thing is this: is that when you get a brief, I'm just giving one example, okay, of stereotyping and of what is gender bias and how deep rooted it is, okay. So you get a brief. I think it really starts from sometimes the client say, "यार इसके ऊपर ना लड़की चाहिए," because it's makeup, or यार ये bike है ये, this she can't do it, get a male creative director. And very often the creative director and the CEO and the agency pander to that, and they say, yeah, okay, But the thing is this, that when just as creative people, when we get a brief, I think whether it's mutual funds, whether it's batteries, whether it's condoms, whether it's sanitary towels, I have to study the product, right? I mean, just because I'm a woman, it won't be like, oh, I will not understand XYZ on, how say engine oils work, or I will not I will not get into how lipsticks work because I'm supposedly I know it, right? It's the same for you. Like if Tapan gets a brief for lipstick or for sanitary towels or for engine oils, you should do that much of a deep dive and study that product and category and then come up with whatever creative, right? Where has this become a gender thing? So for some strange, that deep rooted thing of, only a woman's mind will think this way. And I think also the fact that it's kind of, these attributes of, okay, she can't be wicked, she can't be witty, she can't be sarcastic, she can't be like assertive. But all the pretty and nice and will be women, and all things rough and tough will be men, which is also wrong because it's very unfair to also expect men to always be these, tough guys, and men don't cry. I mean, it's sad. And I think a lot of the mental health issues right now are also because men are not able to, they also need shoulders to cry on, yeah. So I just feel that it's both ways, to be honest. There is a lot of biases, and like I said, this is a Pandora's box. If you open it up, I can talk about it forever. But to answer your question on, you know, uh, do these things exist? Yes, they do. They unfortunately do. I think some of us have maybe maneuvered our way through in terms of, maybe calling it out early, or having worked in agencies whereby it really wasn't tolerated, or whatever. I mean, not to say that, crap didn't happen everywhere, but I really feel like I personally have been fairly, I've been very upfront, and whenever I've had a problem, I've raised my hand and say, hey, this is, crossing the line. So, but the onus cannot always be on the woman. I mean, what about men behaving themselves? Simply put, or the fact that if I have to take a cab at 3 o'clock, why do I have to be worried? But I was, and I remember in those days we had these, couple of cab drivers, ki, Bhaiya ji, aap humko chhod dena, or like colleagues dropping you. And yeah, of course it does happen. Like today, I'm honestly like, if I have to move to Gurgaon for work, that is one thing that bothers me. That dude, like, I'll have to keep a driver who I can trust. One, who will not kill me. And secondly, the fact is, if I'm traveling alone at 3 o'clock from wherever, work, party, whatever, I mean, will I be safe? So it's sad. It exists. Has it shifted? I don't know. I'm not sure I can really answer that. I think it's because it's social media and because there's so much of chatter around it. I think there's a little more accountability.
Awareness.
Yeah, and thoda sa, I think people are a little worried. Like I'm saying, even with the whole collective starting, I have my guy friends of mine teasing me, "Arey yaar, collective," and I say, "Yeah, it's okay. Be a little scared. It's okay, because it probably is an overcorrection, but it's required sometimes."
I am so thankful that you've taken out the time to spend with me on this one. I hope this was not an absolute waste of your time.
No, it
Uh,
was lovely. I have to thank you because I think, like I said, when we spoke and you kind of reached out and you said, "Okay, let's do this," I think it gave me, like, I literally went down memory lane in a way. And I think it's also interesting because, like, a lot of the questions in terms of how do you keep yourself relevant, what is it that you're doing, and I think it was nice because it's when I'm talking to you, a lot of those things are getting crystallized, and I think there is like I also take back from this session as much as I'm hoping you've taken from it. So yeah, thank you, and I think it's been mutual. It's not just you benefiting, and I've benefited greatly. So thanks a lot for that.